Secrets have a way of slipping out in the strangest places. Mine emerged behind a stack of organic coffee beans at Morgan's Haven, our family's boutique home goods store, where the scent of vanilla and cinnamon usually masks everything else. Not today. I'm Delilah, and I was restocking the specialty coffee display when I heard my father's voice drift through the storage room door. Something in his tone made me freeze. Coffee bag suspended midair. Susan, we need to move quickly on this. The buyers won't wait forever. My father's whisper carried an edge I rarely heard. If Mother catches wind of this before we're ready, she won't, my mother cut in, her voice cold and precise like a surgeon's blade. Evelyn's too busy playing mentor to her precious granddaughter to notice what's happening right under her nose. The coffee bag slipped from my fingers, landing with a soft thud on the hardwood floor. I pressed myself against the shelving unit, heart hammering against my ribs. The offer is more than generous, my father continued. $5 million for the store and property. We could finally have everything we deserve instead of playing shopkeeper in this glorified gift shop. What about Delilah? My mother's laugh was brittle. She actually believes she'll inherit this place someday, following Evelyn around like a lost puppy, learning every tedious detail about running a retail business. She'll adjust. They all do. Besides, Lucas is the one with real potential. This money could give him the opportunities he deserves. My fingers curled into fists, nails biting into my palms. Of course, they'd mention Lucas, my perfect younger brother, who'd never worked a day in the store but somehow deserved everything I'd spent years earning. We'll need to handle the paperwork carefully, my mother said. Make sure everything's ironclad before we tell Evelyn. She built this place from nothing. She'll fight us if she finds out too soon. That's why we won't tell her until it's done. Sometimes you have to be cruel to be kind. I heard them moving toward the door and quickly grabbed the fallen coffee bag, pretending to be absorbed in arranging the display. They emerged from the storage room, my father straightening his tie, my mother smoothing her already perfect hair. Oh, Delilah. My mother's surprise seemed genuine. I didn't realize you were out here. I turned, forcing my face in a neutral submission, an expression I'd perfected over years of family dinners. Just restocking the coffee. Sales have been good this week. That's nice, dear. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. Why don't you take your break? You look tired. I nodded, walking past them with measured steps. Every muscle in my body screamed to run, to find Grandma Evelyn and tell her everything. But 18 years of being Richard and Susan Morgan's daughter had taught me better. You don't win by showing your hand too soon. Instead, I went to the break room and pulled out my phone, hands shaking as I typed a message to Mia. Need to talk. Emergency. Meet at the cafe after my shift. The response came immediately. Always here for you. 6 p.m.? I stared at my reflection in the break room mirror, watching something shift behind my eyes. The dutiful daughter who always played by the rules was disappearing, replaced by someone harder, someone ready to fight back. My grandmother built this store from nothing, turning it into the heart of our community. She'd given everything to this family, and this was how they repaid her, with betrayal wrapped in luxury dreams and false concern. Well, they'd made one crucial mistake. They'd underestimated me. Again. I straightened my name tag, checked my smile in the mirror, and walked back onto the sales floor. Let them think I was still their compliant eldest child, too naive to understand their schemes. I had time now. Time to gather evidence. Time to plan. Time to make sure they never saw me coming. After all, revenge, like the perfect cup of coffee, is best served precisely when they least expect it. The cafe buzzed with evening regulars as I slid into the corner booth across from Mia. Her usually bright face darkened when she saw mine. You look like you've seen a ghost, she said, pushing her untouched latte toward me. Worse, I've seen my parents' true colors. My fingers traced the coffee cup's rim, but I couldn't bring myself to drink. They're selling Morgan's Haven, behind Grandma's back. Mia's sharp intake of breath matched the sting I'd felt hearing those words the first time. That's impossible. Your grandmother built that place. It's her life. Apparently, $5 million is worth more than her life's work. The bitterness in my voice surprised even me. And guess what? Lucas gets to benefit from all of it while I get to adjust. What are you going to do? Before I could answer, my phone lit up with a text from my mother. Family dinner tonight, non-negotiable, wear something presentable. I showed Mia the message. Watch the performance of a lifetime. At home, the dining room gleamed with our best china and crystal glasses. My mother's signal that something important was happening. Lucas slouched in his chair, scrolling through his phone while my father discussed his latest golf game with theatrical enthusiasm. Delilah, darling, my mother called from the kitchen. Help me bring out the plates. In the kitchen, she handed me a serving dish of roasted vegetables. Your father and I have been talking, she began, adjusting her pearl necklace. We think it's time you started focusing on your future. College applications, internships, something more substantial than retail. My grip on the dish tightened. More substantial than learning to run a successful business? Don't be difficult, dear. We both know your grandmother's methods are rather outdated. The market is changing. Sometimes change is necessary for growth. I carried the vegetables to the table, my mother's words echoing like a threat. Grandma Evelyn always said the devil works in fine print and pretty promises. Excellent news, everyone, my father announced once we were seated. The store's quarterly numbers are looking strong. Mother's legacy is secure. The lie rolled off his tongue so smoothly, I almost admired his technique. Almost. Speaking of the store, I said, carefully spearing a piece of chicken, I was thinking about modernizing our inventory system. Grandma mentioned. That won't be necessary, my father cut in sharply, then softening his tone. Let's focus on Lucas's college tours instead. Harvard's looking promising. Lucas finally looked up from his phone. I told you, Dad, I want to take a gap year, travel Europe or something. Of course you do, sweetheart, my mother cooed. We'll discuss it. I watched them fawn over Lucas's half-formed plans while my carefully researched business proposals gathered dust in my room. The familiar ache of invisibility settled in my chest, but this time it came with something new. Determination. After dinner, I overheard them in my father's study. The buyers want to move faster, my father said. They're talking about reducing the offer if we delay. Then we accelerate the timeline, my mother replied. Start moving the more valuable inventory to the secondary storage unit. If Mother notices, we'll say we're making room for new stock. I slipped away before they could spot me, my mind racing. Secondary storage unit? That was new information, and exactly what I needed. In my room, I pulled out my laptop and opened a new document. Time to start documenting everything. Dates, conversations, suspicious activities. My parents thought they had all the power because they controlled the money. But information? That was a different kind of currency. My phone buzzed, a text from Grandma Evelyn. Missing you at the store today. Come by tomorrow, have something important to discuss. I stared at the message, my throat tight. Whatever my grandmother wanted to discuss, I had to make sure I got to the storage unit first. Because if my parents were already moving inventory, the clock wasn't just ticking, it was running out. Sometimes the hardest part of revenge isn't planning it. It's waiting for the perfect moment to strike. But I'd waited 18 years to be taken seriously. I could wait a little longer to make sure I got this right. The storage unit's padlock clicked open in the pre-dawn darkness. My father's spare key, borrowed from his desk drawer, had worked perfectly. Inside, stacked against the walls, sat the evidence I needed. Morgan Haven's most valuable inventory, hidden away like stolen goods. I snapped photos with trembling hands. Antique crystal sets, hand-carved furniture, the vintage tea service Grandma Evelyn had personally restored. Each item tagged with values far below their worth. Classic accounting fraud. I'd learned enough from Grandma to recognize that. My phone buzzed. Lucas. Where are you? Mom's freaking out. I ignored it, focusing on the papers scattered across a folding table. Inventory lists, sale contracts, offshore account details. My parents weren't just selling the store, they were systematically gutting it, preparing to leave Grandma with an empty shell while pocketing the real value. The storage unit's door creaked. I spun around, heart stopping. I thought I might find you here. Lucas stood in the doorway, his silhouette sharp against the rising sun. How did you? Mom had me follow you. He stepped inside, eyes widening at the hidden inventory. What is all this? The truth. I handed him the sale contract. They're selling Grandma's store out from under her. Everything she built, everything she wanted to pass down to us, they're stealing it. Lucas scanned the documents, his face paling. But Dad said the store was struggling. That we needed to modernize? They lied. My voice cracked. They've been lying to all of us. No. He shoved the papers back at me. You're the one lying, trying to cause problems because you're jealous. Mom warned me you'd do something like this. Jealous? The word tasted like acid. Of what? Being their golden child while they destroy our grandmother's legacy? You don't understand anything. Lucas's voice rose. Dad's doing this for us. For my future. Your future? I laughed, harsh and hollow. What about Grandma's present? What about everything she sacrificed to build this for our family? I'm telling them. He pulled out his phone. They need to know what you're doing. I grabbed his wrist. Lucas, please, just look at the evidence. Really look. He hesitated, then yanked his arm away. I already texted Mom when I saw you come in here. They're on their way. My blood ran cold. I had minutes, maybe seconds. Frantically, I photographed the remaining documents, hands shaking so badly I had to retake several shots. Car doors slammed outside. My mother's voice carried through the morning air. Delilah Morgan, come out here immediately. I faced Lucas. You had to choose a side eventually, little brother. I just hoped you'd choose the right one. My father appeared in the doorway, face thunderous. What do you think you're doing? Documenting your fraud. I held up my phone. Every piece of inventory you've hidden, every falsified document, every secret account. What do you think Grandma will say when she sees this? She'll say you're a disturbed young woman who needs help, my mother said smoothly, stepping around my father. Spreading lies about your own family, breaking and entering. We're very concerned about your behavior, darling. Concerned enough to have Lucas spy on me? We're trying to protect you, my father said. You're clearly not thinking clearly. Hand over the phone and we'll forget this happened. I backed away, clutching my phone. Like you forgot about Grandma's sacrifices, her dreams for this store? Dreams don't pay for Lucas's education, my mother snapped. Or the lifestyle you've grown accustomed to. The lifestyle you've grown accustomed to, I corrected. Grandma taught me that success isn't about what you own, it's about what you build. My father moved toward me, hand outstretched. That's enough, the phone, now. I looked at Lucas, seeing confusion war with loyalty on his face. Then I ran, ducking under my father's arm and sprinting into the dawn. Behind me, I heard my mother's sharp command, Lucas, stop her! But he didn't follow. Maybe, just maybe, a seed of doubt had been planted. I ran until my lungs burned, clutching the evidence that would either save my grandmother's legacy or tear our family apart forever. Sometimes, I realized, you have to break something completely before you can rebuild it right. Mia's couch had become my sanctuary over the past week, but I couldn't hide forever. The evidence on my phone felt like a loaded gun. Powerful but dangerous in the wrong hands. Your parents just posted about the store's anniversary celebration next week, Mia said, scrolling through social media. Big event, your grandmother's giving a speech. I sat up sharply. They wouldn't dare. Looks like they would. She turned her phone to show me the post. My mother's perfectly crafted announcement about celebrating family legacy and looking toward the future. My phone buzzed with a text from my father. Come home. We need to discuss your future. Don't go, Mia warned. I have to. They're planning something. The house was quiet when I arrived. Too quiet. My mother sat in the living room, perfectly poised as always. My father stood by the fireplace, holding a manila envelope. We've been patient, he began, but this rebellion needs to end. Rebellion? I laughed. Is that what you call exposing fraud? We call it protecting this family's interests. My mother's voice was silk over steel. We have an offer for you. My father opened the envelope. Full tuition at any college of your choice, a generous monthly allowance, your own apartment. All you have to do is delete those photos and stay quiet about what you think you know. Think I know. The room felt too small, too warm. I have proof. You have photographs that could be explained away, my mother said. What you don't have is a future if you continue down this path. Your grandmother's not as stable as she used to be, my father added. Who do you think people will believe? Us or a teenager with a grudge? The threat hung in the air like smoke. They'd thought this through, planned their defense. Of course they had. And if I refuse, then we'll have to protect the family reputation by other means. My mother's smile didn't reach her eyes. Perhaps a stay at that lovely wellness center in Vermont? Your recent behavior has been concerning, after all. Ice spread through my veins. They'd lock me away if they had to, label me unstable. And Grandma Evelyn. The anniversary celebration, I said. What are you planning? A celebration of change, my father replied. Your grandmother will announce her retirement and will reveal the store's exciting new direction. It's all arranged. She'd never agree to that. She already has. My mother produced a document with Grandma's signature. Signed last week. Perhaps if you hadn't been hiding, you'd know. I stared at the signature. It looked wrong somehow, but I couldn't prove it. Just like I couldn't prove they'd forced or tricked her into signing. You have until the celebration to make your decision, my father said. Choose wisely. I walked out without taking the envelope, my mind racing. In the driveway, Lucas sat in his car, engine running. Need a ride? He asked through the open window. I hesitated, then got in. We drove in silence until he pulled into an empty parking lot. The signature's fake, he said quietly. I saw them practicing it. My heart stopped. You're sure? He pulled out his phone, showed me a video, our parents at the dining room table, our father copying Grandma's signature over and over while our mother watched. Why are you showing me this? Because I found something else. His voice shook. The wellness center, they've already started the paperwork. They're going to commit you, Delilah, right after the celebration. The pieces clicked into place. The celebration wasn't just about announcing changes. It was about discrediting me before I could expose them. Help me stop them, I whispered. Lucas stared straight ahead. They're our parents. And she's our grandmother, the only one who ever saw us for who we really are. He was quiet for a long moment. Then, what's your plan? I pulled out my phone, started composing a message to Grandma Evelyn. First, we warn her. Then we give our parents exactly the celebration they deserve. Sometimes the most dangerous weapon isn't evidence or threats. It's the truth finally setting itself free. Morgan's Haven glittered under anniversary decorations, crystal catching light like trapped stars. The store had never looked more beautiful or more like a stage set for tragedy. I watched from behind the register as my parents worked the room, their smiles sharp as knives. Grandma Evelyn stood near the vintage tea display, looking smaller than I remembered. When had she started seeming so fragile? Everything's ready, Lucas whispered, sliding past with a stack of programs. On the cover, Morgan's Haven, A Legacy of Change. My phone felt heavy in my pocket, loaded with evidence that could destroy everything. But timing was crucial. One wrong move, and I'd end up in that wellness center, labeled unstable while my parents dismantled everything Grandma had built. Delilah, darling. My mother appeared beside me, gripping my arm. Remember our discussion. Don't embarrass yourself. Wouldn't dream of it, Mother. She studied my face, searching for defiance. Your father's about to begin the presentations. Do try to look supportive. The crowd gathered around the makeshift stage. Loyal customers, local business owners, family friends, all here to witness what they thought was a celebration. Welcome, everyone, my father's voice carried across the store. Today marks not just an anniversary, but a new chapter for Morgan's Haven. I caught Grandma's eye across the room. She frowned slightly, confusion crossing her face. This wasn't the speech we'd rehearsed. Change is inevitable, he continued. And sometimes the wisest choice is knowing when to step aside. My mother guided Grandma Evelyn toward the stage, her grip on the older woman's arm mirror matching the way she'd held mine moments ago. Which is why we're honored to announce that Evelyn Morgan has decided to retire, entrusting the store's future to the next generation. Gasps and murmurs rippled through the crowd. Grandma's face went pale. I most certainly did not, she began, but my mother smoothly cut her off. Mother's been struggling lately with decisions, she announced to the crowd, her voice dripping with concern. Which is why we've taken steps to ensure a smooth transition. That was my cue. Not the one they'd planned, but the one I'd been waiting for. Speaking of transitions, I stepped forward, phone in hand. Let's talk about what that really means. My father's face darkened. Delilah. Play the video, Lucas. My brother, stationed by the store's display screens, hesitated for just a moment. Then he pressed play. The security footage from the storage unit filled the screens. My parents, methodically hiding inventory, the forged documents, their conversations about the sale, about committing me to get help. That's quite enough. My father moved to stop the video, but Mia, blessed, brilliant Mia, had already locked the system. Is it? I turned to the crowd. Because I think everyone should see how you plan to steal Grandma's legacy. How you forged her signature. How you... She's unwell, my mother interrupted, her voice breaking perfectly. We've been trying to get her help. Like this? I projected their wellness center documentation onto the screens. Involuntary commitment papers already filled out? Is that how you help someone who threatens your plans? The crowd's murmurs turned angry. Someone called out, "Shame." Evelyn, my father turned to Grandma. You know we only wanted what's best. What's best? Grandma's voice cut through the chaos like a blade. What's best is the truth, Richard, something you seem to have forgotten. She walked to me, each step deliberate. Show me everything, Delilah. My mother lunged for my phone, but Lucas stepped between us. Don't, he said quietly. It's over, Mom. The next few minutes unfolded like a slow-motion crash. The evidence displayed, the crowd's reaction, my parents' desperate attempts to explain. But all I could focus on was Grandma's face as she watched 30 years of trust crumble. I always wondered, she finally said, her voice carrying in the sudden silence. Which of you truly understood what legacy means? She turned to me, eyes bright with unshed tears. Now I know. Sometimes victory tastes like ashes. Sometimes justice feels like watching your family fall apart in front of a crowd. But sometimes that's exactly what needs to happen for something stronger to grow from the ruins. The aftermath of truth hits harder than the revelation itself. 3 days after the anniversary disaster, I sat in Grandma Evelyn's office, watching her methodically sort through decades of paperwork. Her hands trembled slightly, but her voice remained steady. They've emptied the accounts, she said, placing another statement on the growing pile. Every penny they could access. My victory felt hollow now. I should have acted sooner. You acted exactly when you needed to. She looked up, her eyes sharp. But now we have bigger problems. The store's main floor had been silent for days. Most employees had quit after my parents' fraud became public, afraid of being implicated. Suppliers were demanding immediate payment, threatening to pull their contracts. My phone buzzed. Another text from my mother. You've destroyed this family. I hope you're proud of yourself. I deleted it without responding, adding it to the dozens I'd ignored since that night. Lucas had gone to stay with our aunt, unable to face either side of the family divide. The buyers are still interested. Grandma's voice cut through my thoughts. They've made a new offer. What? No, we can't. $5 million, Delilah, enough to pay off the debts your father accumulated, enough to start fresh. This store is your legacy. Legacy? She laughed, but it wasn't her usual warm sound. Look around, the legacy is already broken. The door chimed downstairs, our first customer in days. I headed down to find Mark Reynolds, my cafe boss, standing in the empty store. Thought you might need these, he said, placing a box of fresh pastries on the counter, and maybe some advice. Unless those pastries come with a time machine, I'm not sure anything can help. Your parents stopped by the cafe this morning, he said carefully. They're filing charges, claiming you accessed private documents illegally, manipulated security footage. The room tilted slightly. They can't, they can, and they are. He pushed the pastry box closer. They're also spreading rumors about your grandmother's mental state, suggesting she's being manipulated. I gripped the counter, knuckles white. Everything I'd done to protect Grandma was somehow making things worse. There's more, Mark continued. They've hired a lawyer specializing in elder abuse cases. They're building a case to have your grandmother declared incompetent. The bell chimed again. Mia rushed in, face flushed. Delilah, you need to see this. She held up her phone, showing me my mother's latest social media post, a carefully crafted statement about family tragedy, mental health struggles, and a daughter's desperate bid for attention destroying a generations-old business. The comments were worse. People I'd known my whole life calling me ungrateful, troubled, manipulative. They're rewriting the story, I whispered. That's not all. Mia scrolled down. They're organizing a boycott, claiming buying from Morgan's Haven now supports elder exploitation. Upstairs, I heard Grandma's office door open. Her footsteps on the stairs seemed heavier than usual. The suppliers called, she announced. They're canceling our contracts, all of them. The room spun again. Without suppliers, without inventory, without community support, we had nothing. Maybe, my voice cracked, maybe we should take the offer. No. Grandma's tone was final. That's what they want. To break us down until we give them what they wanted all along. But they're winning. They're turning everyone against us. They're pressing charges. They're desperate, Mark interrupted. And desperate people make mistakes. I looked around the empty store, at the shelves my grandmother had stocked for 30 years, at the register where I'd learned to count change, at the window display I'd arranged every season since I was 12. I wanted justice, I said quietly. Instead, I might have killed everything you built. Grandma took my hand, her grip surprisingly strong. Justice isn't always clean, Delilah. Sometimes it costs everything before it gives anything back. So, what do we do? She smiled, and for a moment I saw the steel that had built this store from nothing. We stop playing defense. If they want to destroy this family's legacy, let's show them exactly what that legacy is made of. Sometimes hitting bottom isn't about giving up. Sometimes it's about finding out what you're really made of when there's nowhere left to fall. The courthouse steps felt like a stage, with reporters clustered below and my parents' lawyer addressing them like a conductor before his orchestra. I stood in the shadows, watching my mother dab artificial tears while my father played the role of concerned parent perfectly. We only want what's best for both my mother and my daughter, he was saying. Sometimes love means making difficult choices. Interesting definition of love. Lucas appeared beside me, hands shoved deep in his pockets. I found something you need to see. He pulled out a USB drive. Dad's private files, the ones he thought I was too stupid to find. Inside the courthouse, Grandma Evelyn sat with her lawyer, her spine straight as steel. The hearing to determine her competency would start in 20 minutes. It's not just about the store, Lucas continued. They've been embezzling from other family businesses, too. Aunt Sarah's restaurant, Uncle James's construction company. They've stolen from everyone. My hands shook as I plugged the drive into my laptop. How long? Years. They used the money to buy properties under shell companies, then lease them back to the family at ridiculous rates. Everyone's been paying them without knowing it. The evidence filled the screen. Bank transfers, fake companies, forged signatures. A web of betrayal spanning our entire extended family. Why are you showing me this now? Lucas met my eyes. Because they're not just trying to destroy you and Grandma, they're destroying everyone who ever trusted them. The courtroom doors opened. Our parents swept in, their lawyer carrying a thick folder of evidence about Grandma's declining mental state. All rise, the bailiff called. But before the judge could enter, Aunt Sarah burst through the doors, followed by Uncle James and 3 other relatives I hadn't seen since the anniversary disaster. This hearing is a fraud, Sarah announced, her voice ringing through the chamber. Just like everything else Richard and Susan Morgan have touched. My mother's perfect mask cracked. This is a private family matter. Exactly. Uncle James stepped forward. And we're family too, the family you've been stealing from for years. I stood holding up Lucas's USB drive. We have proof, all of it. Every transaction, every shell company, every forged document. You'd really believe a troubled teenager over your own brother? My father's voice dripped concern, but his eyes were desperate. We believe the evidence, Aunt Sarah replied, and the police will too. My mother lunged for the USB drive, her carefully maintained composure shattering completely. You ungrateful little... That's enough. Grandma Evelyn's voice cut through the chaos like a blade. Richard, Susan, you've forgotten something very important about legacy. It's not just about money or property, it's about trust. She stood addressing the judge directly. Your Honor, I'd like to submit additional evidence of fraud and criminal conspiracy. Not just against me, but against multiple family businesses. My parents' lawyer scrambled to object, but the damage was done. As security officers entered the courtroom, I saw something I'd never witnessed before. My father afraid. Delilah, he tried one last time. We're your parents. Everything we did was for this family. No, I replied, watching as officers approached them. Everything you did was for yourselves. The family was just collateral damage. As they were led away, my mother turned back. You'll regret this, both of you. She looked at Lucas. All of you. But her threats felt empty now. The truth had finally broken her power over us. Later, in what remained of Morgan's Haven, Grandma Evelyn handed me a set of keys. The store needs more than just repairs, she said. It needs new life, new vision. She smiled. It needs you. I don't know if I can. You already have. You protected not just my legacy, but our whole family's truth. That's worth more than any store. Sometimes revenge isn't about destroying your enemies. Sometimes it's about protecting what matters, even when that protection comes at a terrible price. And sometimes the greatest victory isn't in watching your opponents fall, but in remaining standing yourself, ready to rebuild from the ashes they left behind. The prison visiting room smelled of industrial cleaner and stale coffee. My mother sat across from me, her designer outfit replaced by standard issue gray, her perfect makeup absent. 6 months into her sentence, and she still hadn't lost that calculating look in her eyes. Come to gloat? She asked. No, I came to return something. I placed her pearl necklace on the table between us. Found it while cleaning out the house. She didn't touch it. The house we built, the life we created, was destroying all of that worth it? You destroyed it. I just exposed the truth. Truth? She laughed softly. Truth is watching my daughter run the store I should have owned. Truth is my son won't even accept my calls. Truth is your father taking a plea deal to save himself while letting me take the fall. I stood to leave, but her words stopped me. He never told you, did he, about the letter? My hand froze on the chair. What letter? The one Evelyn wrote years ago, naming you her successor. Your father found it when you were 14. That's when we started planning. We couldn't let a child take everything we'd worked for. The revelation hit like a physical blow. 4 years? They'd known for 4 years that Grandma had chosen me. You still don't understand, do you? I said quietly. It was never about who owned what. It was about trust, love, family. Family? Her mask cracked slightly. Then why are you really here? I pulled out the visitor request form she'd sent. Because despite everything, you're still my mother. And I needed to know if there was anything left worth saving. Her eyes dropped to the pearls, then back to me. For a moment, I saw something flicker across her face. Regret, perhaps, or recognition of what she'd lost. The store's doing well, I said. Lucas is helping with the books. He has a good eye for numbers when he's not being pushed too hard. She flinched at that. Grandma's teaching us both, the way she always wanted to, the way it should have been. And you're happy, playing shopkeeper instead of pursuing real ambitions? I'm building something real, something honest. I stood again. That was always the difference between us. Back at Morgan's Haven, Lucas was arranging a new window display. Through the glass, I saw Mia and Mark from the cafe delivering their daily pastry order. The store hummed with life, not just customers, but family members who'd rediscovered what it meant to work together. In the office, I found Grandma Evelyn reviewing inventory reports. She looked up as I entered. How was it? Enlightening. I sat across from her. Why didn't you tell me about the letter? The one naming me successor? She smiled sadly. Because you needed to earn it for yourself, not inherit it. And you have, in ways I never expected. She opened her desk drawer and pulled out an envelope, aged but unopened. This is the original. I wrote it the day you first asked to learn about the business. You were 12, covered in dust from reorganizing the stockroom, and absolutely determined to understand everything. I took the letter with trembling hands but didn't open it. Some truths don't need to be read to be understood. We're getting new suppliers next week, I said instead. Local artisans, small family businesses, people who understand what legacy really means. And the old inventory? Donated to families affected by the fraud. It felt right. She nodded approvingly. Revenge can destroy or rebuild. You chose to rebuild. Through the office window, I watched Lucas help a customer, his smile genuine, his shoulders unburdened. Below my hands, the letter represented not just what I'd gained, but what I'd learned. That true legacy isn't inherited. It's built, choice by choice, day by day, with every person who chooses to trust you with their future. I place the letter back in the drawer, unopened. Some victories don't need to be proven, they just need to be lived.